Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and today I am going to be talking with two extraordinary new filmmakers. These two have put together what is, in my opinion, the greatest Twin Peaks fan film made thus far. So let me welcome Charly Gautier and Coline Hurt. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi guys. Thank you, Cameron, for having us.
Yes.
So, okay, let's just cut to the chase. Who are you, and how did you get into the the filmmaking world, and how did you arrive to making this particular project? Because I know you also, I've seen you on other interviews say that you're Buffy fans. So
Yes.
what made you do this rather than a Buffy fan film? Was it because of season 3? Just take us through your journey from I want to be a filmmaker to where we are now.
Okay. So I'm going to start with me because I'm the one who started all.
Yeah.
When I was very young, I was alone on the weekends, so I put on TV and start mimicking other character or on TV show just to pass the time. And the more I grew up, the more the project were interesting. The more I found interesting film or interesting characters like Buffy, or I mentioned Revolutionary Road. I was always attracted to interesting characters. I was interested in characters before directing. Directing came way after. My first job is acting. So growing up, I started filming myself at some point, and it was absolutely terrible. So I kept filming myself with camera and stuff, and it grew on me the idea of creating. Maybe I was on Buffy at the time, creating a tiny story around her. So I asked Coline, because I was tired of putting my camera on a tripod and having just terrible,
just steady shots.
So I asked her, and she wasn't in school, but on the lunch break she came because my house was closer to her school. She came, she helped, and I also did True Blood, Suki Stackhouse from True Blood. For Suki was 2 years, Buffy was 5 years, and
when you say 2 years and 5 years, what does that mean? 5 years you did like Buffy skits, or what are we talking about?
But Buffy, the project was a little insane. I wanted to do the whole show through 10 movies. I was completely insane. I didn't realize.
So you wanted to recreate the show?
Yeah. Yes, but with my own vision of what the character is for me. But the thing is, I started filming, but I didn't realize the process of making a movie. I didn't realize what was editing, lightings, every aspect of what makes a movie. So, and I remember I was watching on the process of Buffy. I watched Twin Peaks, and I fell in love with Laura. And when I saw Fire Walk with Me, the final scene, I remember I was on my bed crying, and there was the end credits, and I was sitting for like 15 minutes. I wanted to give this character something else. I thought, wow, she deserves something. I wanted to give her more time to live, and give her this moment of freedom. So the idea of Laura was in my head, and I was writing little notes, little stuff. We talked about it during making Buffy. And
how old were you at this point?
But Buffy, we never did anything with Buffy and Suki because it was terrible. But
when you decided to when you were doing notes for Laura Palmer, like how old were you at this point?
Laura Palmer, it was 4 years ago, so I was 19.
All right, and then it's taken 2 years for this project. So we're talking about 4 years from start to finish.
Yes,
right.
But the thing, we didn't write all the time because she was in school. I was working to have some money and create something more. So we started filming 2 years ago.
Yeah, the real shooting started 2 years ago.
Laura started 2 years ago. We dropped everything else,
all of the projects,
all of the other projects, because it was terrible. And with Buffy, 10 movies, I realized it was impossible. We needed special effects, lots of stuff, and I was like, okay, Laura, I wrote a story about just a girl and her trauma in life, and we thought, okay, we're gonna try doing this right and doing something. I really, with Laura, I wanted to give something special and create something better. So
okay, now let me pause you right there. You say something better.
Yeah.
Now, you obviously liked Fire Walk with Me, or love Fire Walk with Me. I don't know what your stance is on it. Is this in any way an extension of Fire Walk with Me? Because there are moments and dialogue that recreate from the movie, or is this what your version of Fire Walk with Me would be?
I can't really say it's my version, but
it's just what inspired in you.
What inspired me, yes. It's when I wrote something, it's really not for a story, but for a character, and that's really what I wanted to do with Laura. It's tell her story, her point of view. That's why you see, because the character in the interrogation scene of Donna, James, Bobby, and Audrey, I think it's during Twin Peaks, during the timeline of Twin Peaks, and the flashback of Laura are in Fire Walk with Me, and I think I took every kind of element that I had to create something cohesive and just to tell her story and respect the character, especially of Laura Palmer.
What you've done in this film, I think, is extraordinary, because a lot of times when actors decide to do, let's say, an acting showpiece or an acting reel, which this whole movie, which is about an hour long, you could just turn this in as your acting reel, right? I mean, you have so many different characters and emotions and happy and sad. And usually those type of films are not visually dynamic, right? Because they're very centered on the performance. Exactly. This is where I'm going. So by you pairing up with Coline, what you did was very smart, because even though you're directing the film, you allowed your film to have a visual flourish to it that actually made your character stand out even more than just if the camera had been locked down on a tripod for the entire thing, right? And so you both, what I loved about the film was, without knowing you both, it seems like you both brought out the best in each other. And that's why I think the film, I've seen, okay, listen, I'm not knocking other Twin Peaks fan films at all, because I enjoy them. But there are some that are like 10 minutes long, 14 minutes long, and they feel much longer. Yeah. Your film is about an hour, and I'm not kidding you, it felt like 20 minutes.
Wow.
Oh my God, thank you.
And so that is very hard to do. And I am, a Twin Peaks fanatic, I guess. So you really have to, I appreciate independent filmmakers, but if you're going to be taking on characters such as this, especially in an area where we've kind of already seen this kind of thing before, then I'm really expecting to see something new. What are you going to bring to it? And you guys brought it, which is something I want to get into. So Coline, Charlie brings this to you and says, let's do this Laura Palmer thing. Are you just, okay, let's do it? Or do you need to be talked into this a little bit?
Well, actually, we've been filming, we've been shooting for a few years with the Buffy project. And everything. And it came naturally because we have been speaking about Laura for 2 years.
For the day I saw Laura, the next day I was like, girl, I saw something insane. You have to see it.
So that's why I started to watch Twin Peaks and then Fire Walk with Me. So we've been talking about it for kind of a long time, and the project just built itself
naturally.
Naturally.
The movie built itself on our friendship also. So that's why every job, everything I can't do, she can do, and the other way. It's fantastic to have this connection on work. And being two-person, because I was on a tripod before, it allowed us to shoot, you know, in Pyrenees, Spain and stuff, and it allows so much more.
Yeah, it gives us a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And just there weren't like a date where we would be like, okay, so now we're gonna start the real shooting of the movie. Just one day, we've been able like to prep.
We had the house of Laura Palmer, because we had friends who introduced you to the person that had the house of Laura, and we were like, yeah, the scenery of your house is very interesting. Maybe you would like, and it all started here on this.
Yeah, and by the stuff we had like the first opportunity to like start shooting like just the first scene. Then it grew like
it grew and
on its own, like I don't know, a baby.
Yeah, it grew. It was like, oh, we have that, and the script also changed a lot during the writings.
Yeah.
The final script was on this January, but it changed a lot. It changed of our vision.
Yeah,
it changed.
It was just a living thing.
Yes, we were literally living the process of making the movie, because we were also discovering new side of filming, because
we didn't know anything about it. We just kept learning.
Yes, and when we made Buffy, it was most of the time in my house, changing the set, and sometimes outdoor. We learned a lot with Buffy.
Yeah.
But Laura Palmer, it was something else, something way up, I think, because it was the first time that it was like, okay, we need a place for Audrey and her family, so we're going to look for every place in Europe. We found in space, literally. We found in Spain, and yet there were no actual limits. It was like when there was something on the script, we were searching for any ways to making it. Naturally, it was always a natural process.
Well, I think that's the most important thing, is feeling like you have to put your heart and soul into this. And I gotta say, I mean, that was one of the things that really impressed me about it was, you know, there's a lot of fan films that, oh, let's have the girls in the cute dresses and swaying back and forth, and let's project the Black Lodge there, and it'll be all cute, and you know, because everybody wants to live in that fantasy, you know. And then there's the other people who are obsessed with Laura Palmer, you know, and you know, there was a documentary that was going to be made about like a young gay man that was you know, who thought that he was Laura Palmer, lived the life of Laura Palmer. There's you know, there's articles written by people who say, you know, when I grew up and I saw Fire Walk with Me, you know, I thought of myself as Laura Palmer. And what you were able to do, which I love, is one, it's very obvious you two understand Twin Peaks. And I don't mean like, you know, you can explain to me what every little thing means. I mean, you get it in your hearts and soul. Like,
thank you.
Like for instance, like Coline, your cinematography exists so much in the world of Twin Peaks without ever once trying to be David Lynch. You're just you're in that world, and you're just, it's almost like Lynch's camera is here and you just went a little bit to the left, and so we're seeing a different viewpoint, which is smart, because the fan films that I've seen that try to emulate, you know, or emulate David Lynch, it's fun, it's fine, but it always is somebody trying to be an artist that they're not. The whole point is to be who you are. Yes. And that's what I love about this one, is it's not David Lynch's Twin Peaks. It's your Twin Peaks. And that's not a knock against David Lynch's Twin Peaks. It's another viewpoint. And Charlie, let me go to this then, because you play 14 characters, which in itself is insane. But the great thing about it is there is a moment, and I don't know when that moment is, but it's early on. You just, as a viewer, you have to just let go, right? And when you do, you completely forget that you're playing all these roles, which I mean, I know it must sound insane because you did all this, you spent all this time.
This is the best compliment ever. Thank you.
And editing it, but look, you know, and I'm a filmmaker too, and I understand the process. And I'm watching this thing, and I just gave up, and you know, thinking, oh, how'd you do this? And I just, because your characterizations, they're not Dana Ashbrook, okay? They're not James Marshall. They're not Cheryl Lee. They're not Lara Flynn Boyle. They're not Sherilyn Fenn. But it's almost like, again, it's like you took the characters that we know and you made us just look at them a little bit to the left. So, for instance, like your portrayal of Bobby Briggs. Bobby is very much it's like it's hard to articulate because you are playing Bobby. We recognize you're playing Bobby, but you're not doing a Dana Ashbrook, you know, copy. You're playing Bobby Briggs the way an actor would get the role of Bobby Briggs and approach it. Like if someone else had been cast as Bobby Briggs, this is a different way Bobby Briggs could be portrayed. So it's like you're honoring what came before, but as an actor, you can't stifle your performance by trying to just be Dana Ashbrook because that would be a disaster. Yeah. You have to approach this as, okay, if you got the part of Bobby Briggs, how would you approach this?
This is exactly what I wanted to do.
Right. And so what happens is, and again, I love the characters of Twin Peaks, but they're all, while they're very relatable, because of the stylization of the way Lynch and the other filmmakers made the original show, they were very heightened performances, right?
Yeah.
And what you did is you brought the performances down a notch. If everybody else kicked theirs up a notch, you went down a notch. So your portrayals of them are more realistic to what they would be. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Like
completely. Yes.
Okay, by underplaying the roles, you took away the feeling from the viewer that we have to compare you to these other actors that we know and love. We just accept you as these characters, and the fact that you're playing all of them or most of them, that's a pretty big feat to pull off. The moment I knew your film was great, you know, and it was about 7 minutes in, because you have Laura and Audrey interacting, and in that moment, for me anyway, I completely forgot you're playing Laura and Audrey. The camera work was on point. You're obviously using Angelo Badalamenti's music, which helps, but the music, the performances, the camera work, it just, in that scene, I was in a scene of Twin Peaks that I had never seen before. And so that's what made me so excited and happy, was that, and I in my initial review of this, one of my only quibbles about it, of your film, was that every once in a while you would go back to a line or you know, it is what it is. You had to do that. I'm just saying, you guys are so talented that the original scenes that you created, the original monologues you created, are so good that whenever you went back to an original line of dialogue from Twin Peaks, it took me out only because I was so invested in what you two had already created for yourselves. Right. And again, that's not a major knock or anything. I'm just saying that, like, that's how talented you guys are. That's how good this film is. And you guys are very nice. You guys are very humble, but just please, for my own sake, acknowledge to me that you guys know you made a good film, right? You know this, right?
Yeah, we will. No, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. And in terms of the editing, I mean, your editing's spot on. It's just, it's really great. And obviously everyone's going to point to the big Laura Palmer montage scene of just the fireworks and the party. And I mean, that's an
this is my favorite scene, so you can.
Okay. Well, it's an extraordinary scene of editing. It is. But the thing is, though, and that sequence is going to get called out by a lot of people as being fantastic, and it's really great. But the fact is, the rest of the movie is equally as great because it's seamless. There is no point when you cut between two different characters that are both you that we're thinking like, well, this is awkward and weird. This is just an actor with an ego showing off. No, this is an artistic piece of which, you know, to me, I've seen a lot of fan films in a lot of different fan community, you know, Star Wars and Star Trek and whatever. I this is honestly, you know, without thinking of others, I mean, it's easily top 5 for me. So, I mean,
wow, thank you.
So I just want you to know that you guys did a great job. And I'm hoping everybody else checks it out. And I'm hoping that by me doing that early review and us doing this interview and stuff, I'm hoping that this will bring more attention, because sometimes fan films are released and people check them out and they go, oh, that's cool. And it just, you know, they move on.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that people that come visit this channel will go check out your film, because I think it's that good.
That's so nice.
Yeah, so nice.
All right, so there's a couple things I wanna bring up. One is, I love the fact that you brought the white horse in. It's a short, you know, 5-second moment, but the fact that you went that extra step for even a few seconds shows the commitment you guys had. Now, Charlie, I saw you were about to say something. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Sorry, it was just what you all said first. Thank you. And the whole process of, you know, when you said Twin Peaks is a little, I don't know what's the word, on the left, and I don't know how you said it, but for me, when I play something, and it started with Buffy, it's my only example, but this is really what I wanted to do with Laura. Is, for me, it's not necessarily about Twin Peaks, it's about Laura and her story as a human, and I wanted to give something to her as a human and someone real in our world, not necessarily Twin Peaks world. So I took, yes, a sentence of the character, because I also wanted to pay respect to the show, and for the fans, I think it can be interesting to have some quotes that, you know. But the whole process of everything was making a real story and
a relatable one.
A relatable one
for everyone.
For everyone.
Not just a Twin Peaks fan, but for anyone.
Anyone.
Just to follow the story of this girl. Actually.
Yes, because we had a premiere with friends and family, and a lot of my friends don't know Twin Peaks, and there were girls that came to me, and this was one of the best moments ever, and they said, you know, I saw myself in Laura, and she's really human, and she exists, and there's this scene where I feel I was more like her. And this was my goal, making this movie. It was creating something real, and every monologue of every character was people speaking and being honest and true. And what I wanted to create this movie was something true to every character.
Yeah.
And when I give, because I think I gave monologue to James, Donna, with every character, and I really wanted them to have their moment, you know, be real, because this is what I think in a film where you have a personnage principal, the main character, sorry, as interesting as Laura, the other character, they have to be interesting too, and that's what will make the main character pop. And this is what I wanted to do when writing the monologues. It was my favorite monologue is the Audrey, the one of Audrey's. Yeah. It's my favorite, and playing it was also my favorite, because, and you know, and the rhythmic use. You also said that you didn't thought it was long, which was something that I was really, really, really scared of.
Yeah.
Because I think when someone watch a movie, I don't want to bore them. I don't want them to lose time. I want them to, at the end of the movie, be like, well, okay, that was nice, but if it's more perfect, but I want them to have felt something, have experienced something, I don't know, different or something they know, but experience at least something. Because when I watch a movie, I hate being like, well, that was boring. This is something I don't want. And as a director, it was something we always talked about it. Making the movie, it was, well, is it boring? And we actually had 2 hours and 30 minutes of movie, but we cut everything because it was boring. So it was.
Now those are just character moments, or are those scenes between characters that you cut out?
Both.
It was a lot of scene revolving about around Laura.
Around Laura,
Yeah.
yes, but more with Leland. But I think what makes the movie special is that you don't see a lot of Leland, and it's her point of view, her trauma, and the point of view of the other character. And I thought we at some point was like, first, it's way too long, and we wanted something that was less than an hour, and we cut, and we are really actually proud of what came out, because we never thought we would have something like this. When we first watched the film, we were like, okay, well, and we felt proud, and
Yeah.
this is something great after 2 years and 2 more years of writing. This is something that was good to have something in the world that you created, and it's okay. I'm okay with it. It's fine. I think it's fine. So, but yeah, there were a lot of also terrible moments where we're like, we will never do it. Let's just give up. Let's just give up. But
you know, let me throw this out to you though.
Yeah.
I saw a commentary once a long time ago with John Carpenter and Kurt Russell when they were talking about Escape from New York, and they cut out the first 10 minutes of that movie.
Yeah.
When the movie first starts, that is actually 10 minutes into the movie. They cut out the whole opening. And Kurt Russell once said, sometimes you have to shoot something to know to cut it.
Exactly.
Like if you just on paper go, nah, I'm not going to do it. You may, as an actor, feel that hole. Like, whoa, oh, I didn't get to explore the character in all these areas. But this way, you can shoot it. You can get that out of your system and then cut it, because you as a character have gone through that process. And so now you won't feel like it you know, you only explored it halfway, right?
And this was the thing with Laura, because we with Audrey, James, Bobby, and Donna, what we shot was basically what you see. But with Laura, there were a lot of scene, and I think yeah, everything that you don't see, it prepared me to play her and be more real, because the rape of Laura, you can see what, 2 seconds barely in our film, but the final scene was actually 3 minutes, and there were scene of violence between. It was terrible.
I was surprised. I was surprised. I thought that you were really gonna make go real grisly in that moment, right? And I was impressed by the restraint in that moment.
That's also something I wanted to do. I hate. I don't want to shock people. I want to tell a hard story, because I think her story is particularly hard. She went through terrible thing, but I always wanted to, as an audience, you never know who's watching, and I want people to feel kind of lighthearted at the end of the movie. And when the people that saw the movie, they say us, you know, I felt it was gradual. I never felt bad, or
never felt attacked
or something. And that's really something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Never attacked so the rape, I was like, okay, I'm gonna show it because I think you have to show it, but it's gonna be the shortest thing ever, and it's like a glimpse of pictures, nothing that will attack you.
It was a very, very smart move. Now you show Laura working with Johnny.
Yes.
Was there ever part of you, and I've brought this up on other podcasts because I myself find this fascinating, that it's never been explored in anything having to do with Twin Peaks. Maybe a little bit in Laura's Diary, but not to the extent that I would want it. Sorry, I'm still a little stuffed up from my cold.
It's okay.
Was there ever a party that wanted to shoot a scene between Laura and Josie? Because
I thought about it.
The reason why I bring that up is not so much like, oh, who cares about Laura tutoring Josie in English? What I'm more about is Josie also had a secret life going on. Mm-hmm. And I always thought it would have been a great moment in Fire Walk with Me, since they had Joan Chen on set anyway. I wish there had been a moment of Laura working with Josie, and maybe on like the last day before she died, looking at Josie and realizing, you're the same as me. I know I recognize myself in you, and Josie getting a little kind of not knowing what she means by that. But I always thought Laura would have been the one to call out Josie's BS, and that maybe would have heightened Josie's paranoia, which is what we see in the first season of Twin Peaks. Yeah. I mean, was there ever a part of you that thought about exploring something like that, or I mean, maybe you don't know any characters or any actors of Asian descent that they could have played that, because like you definitely don't want to be racist and play in an Asian person, even though you're playing all these other characters. So I don't know. I'm just asking, filmmaker to filmmaker, did you ever consider something like that?
First thing, I didn't have any Asian woman. Yes, that's yes. I also didn't have like any actors. That's why I play as much, and it's also I liked it, so it was great. But I thought about it, but I thought there's a lot of other characters that we created that we cut because it was not interesting to Laura, which was my first and most I don't know focus. Yes, and I think when you say there has a resemblance, or I'm like you, I live the same thing, totally. But what I wanted to do was making it with Audrey, which I think Audrey is Laura, but she never shows it, which is very interesting. Or Josie, I think she shows it a little, not the same way, but I thought, okay, with Audrey, I really can do something. I really can. And yes, I didn't have any Asian actress, and I wanted to respect that. So
yeah. Well, your Audrey is fantastic, by the way. I have to say.
And I have a lot of research of Audrey because I was terrified to play Audrey. This is actually one of the scariest character because I think she's the main face for me with Dale Cooper, of course. But Audrey, when you think Twin Peaks, you think Audrey. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. Yeah, no, and I was really scared. But
well, it's almost like Laura Palmer is a symbol. And Charlotte and say Charlotte Fenn, that's how intertwined they are. Audrey is like a cat, she's just she's there. She seems attractive and she seems like she's purring all the time, but she can strike and hiss at any minute, and you got to keep your toes. I mean, she had that wonderful line in season 2, "I'm Audrey Horne, I get what I want," right? So
I wanted to put that in the movie, but I didn't have any chance. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give up on that one, but I thought about it.
Well, we're bouncing around right now, but the idea that you took that idea of the trucker in Fire Walk with Me, oh, you want to F the homecoming queen, and you moved it to be Laura's teacher. Like, now, where did that come from? How did that change come about?
Well, it all started with the fireworks, because it's the first thing I edited. I had the teacher scene, but I didn't have the one where he picks up Laura on the street.
Right.
And I edited the fireworks scene, which I was, okay, I really love this scene, but I absolutely don't know what I'm going to do with it. But I wanted to build the movie around it. And I always knew her teacher, the biker that you see in the fireworks scene, was her teacher. And I was like, okay, it's a fantasy, and she fantasized about her teacher and what her... Actually, this scene is like what she wants, but what she don't have. It's Donna's telling it, but the truth is when Laura is in the bar and Donna is watching her, and it's very sad. And when I was thinking of all this, I was like, I think the teacher will pick her up on the street, and I also wanted a way to had a man pick her up on the street, because yes, like you said, the trucker. And it was like, if it's a teacher, it shows how much her reality is terrible, because she fantasized about him, and after that, well, it's not that at all.
It's almost like she put it out there.
Exactly.
And maybe she's the creator of her own fate in a way, because by her putting it out there, she's bringing those signals back.
And in class, you can see her signals to him with the way she looks at him, and he's like, okay, what is going on? And he's gonna pick her up after because he knows everything, I think. And yeah, it was something that it tells, I think it told something more, being the teacher and having this whole relationship between the two of the character. It told a lot, and that's what I wanted.
Yeah, and it also, calls attention Bobby's line at the funeral in season 1, which is everybody knew she was in trouble and we did nothing.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, if you're sleeping with your high school teacher, a lot of people know things about Laura Palmer. It just dawned on me too. Like, you didn't have any scenes with Harold Smith. Like, that's how good this movie is. I watched an hour-long film about Laura Palmer, and it just dawned on me there's no Harold Smith in this movie.
There was. We cut it because there was. So sorry, because for the writing the scene between, it was the scene where there were also the diary of Laura. There was a whole dynamic around the diary, but I told myself, well, I don't want to. I'm not David Lynch. I'll never be. I don't pretend to be. And this was too much, bringing Firework with me, and this weren't something new, and we weren't pleased with it. So we cut it.
It was one of the. It was actually like the first
scene we cut.
Yes,
because
that we
shot.
Yeah,
one of the first, because we shot the house and stuff, but we didn't like it at all. It was too much like Firework with me, and I remember cutting it. It was like, okay, this movie needs to be ours. In what she said before, it needs to be ours, and we're gonna take the story of David Lynch and Mark Frost and creating around it, but we don't want to be them because we are not, and we want to create something in our vision and not by taking every scene after the other. And the quotes that I put on the character was something, I really hope it was, but something like an homage, a tribute, and not, okay, we're going to copy and just do. It was sometimes, because sometimes I was, okay, I don't know what to say, I'm going to take the...
Look, it's very apparent when watching this movie that you guys did not spend 2 years of your life making a cash-in. Right?
And with the Harold scene in the diary, we felt like it was, so we instantly cut it and we're like, okay, next, so we're gonna change that because it was not us.
Right. I have to just ask, on average, how many takes would you do for each character before you decided to, change costumes and then play the other side?
Oh, you mean at the end, James and Laura?
Just in general, right? Okay, let's take that. Let's take the James and Laura scene, the recreation from Firewalk with Me at the end. You're playing one character, then you're playing the other. Okay, I don't know if you're shooting that on 2 different days or what, but at some point you have to decide, all right, I'm taking this off and gonna get in this other outfit, right? Because you can't just go back and get that other line of Laura without doing extensive hair, costume, makeup, right? So are you overshooting? I'm hoping that you were overshooting just to cover your tails in the editing before you moved over to the other character, or did you just go, okay, 5 takes and we're moving on? How fast were you shooting this thing?
So first,
I'm gonna take 3 examples. The one I jacks, the scene with James and Laura based on Firework with Me, and the monologues. The monologues, the easier was Donna and Audrey because it's easier for me playing woman. The hardest character in the movie was Bobby, and after James. But warming up, it was like Donna was 3rd, 2, 3, 4 takes. Audrey the same. James and Bobby, I needed to warm up, but when I was in, I could do the whole interview in a single shot, which is what I did. Monologues is very different, but when I have 2 characters in front of the others, like with James and Laura. With James, it's my real hair, and with Laura, it's a wig, obviously. But with Laura, I had to bleach my hair because the wig was there, and I had to bleach this section of hair to blend in the wigs and make it more natural. So we shot all of the James scene in 2 or 3 days, I think. Yes.
Yeah, including the final confrontation between them.
Between them, yes. And I had a friend, and I asked him about the scene. I was like, I have 2 characters that need to kiss each other. I don't know how I'm going to do that. And he was like, okay, I'll do it, no problem. And so he did Laura with a wig, and for him it was complicated to organize between 2 and with him. So we started playing the scene with James, which was, we did, I don't know,
It took like 2 hours.
2 hours, but we did like 10 takes maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, because I tried always something new to have, because I didn't know what I was going to do as Laura.
And I think it was the first time you were playing James.
No, I shot the
interview before.
The interview,
oh, yeah.
And yes,
Maybe.
and the confrontation with Laura, and the next day in the mountains.
Yeah, that was it.
So I had this. So we did the scene. On the weekend, I did Donna, and on the next weekend, I bleached my hair and started to play Laura again. So playing Laura on this scene, I watched the shot, what I did as James, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to comprehend what I did. So we had our friend coming back, did the scene. I did the scene 2 times with him, and he was working on the next day. So I had to take the car, driving him to the bus station, coming back, and doing the whole scene alone, because I needed to be, on a certain mood. And this is my proudest moment as an actor on this movie. The Laura Palmer, when she talked to James, it's one and only shot.
Yeah, it's a single shot.
It's a single shot.
With no one in front of him.
I have no one. I have in my head me as James a week before talking to me, and it was very long. It was 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, because I kept putting my I took my time as Laura. I kept having her inside and being her, and it was my favorite scene to play, really, because it was full of emotion and lots of stuff happened, and yes, that's how it happened.
I watched this movie carefully, and I didn't see, as far as I'm aware of, I didn't see any moments where you broke the eye line, right? Like, I mean, this is a big feat, right? You're playing almost every character, and yet your eye lines are matching. Like you never forgot where each character was looking, which is maybe it's not something that maybe a lot of viewers will notice, but I noticed it. Because that's going to break the reality. If you're looking this way and Audrey's looking this way, and they're not matching, right? So it's those little details. It may be, small filmic details, but it's those details. If you didn't get those right, this whole project falls on its butt.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually started when I was 8, playing Celine in Underworld, watching on my curtains, and I was like, okay, I'm talking to this character because he's bigger than me or taller. Oh, I learned very, very young talking to myself, so it's kind of natural, actually. And the other example is, sorry, you need to say something?
No, I was just going to bring up something that, like, Jodie Foster once said, that one of the first things you learn is you can't, I mean, other films do this, but like if a character's looking away, right, and they're in a conversation, it's much harder to cut from this to another actor. That's why a lot of actors will look down and then glance back up, so that the editor knows they can cut in that moment, because they're matching eyes. And the fact is that you were doing that. I know that's maybe a simple thing that like a lot of films do, but this is a hard project, because you're playing all the roles. Like if you weren't, I wouldn't even be commenting on this. But the fact is you're playing one role, and then like a week later playing the other side of the role, and nobody can tell, then that's, that just shows how talented you guys are. But go ahead.
Thank you. The other example I have is the One Eye Jacks, where I play Laura, Blackie, Madison, another escort, and the client. The original scene is 11 minutes long. We cut a lot because it was not interesting as a viewer, but
it was the hardest.
It was the hardest
to
scene to shoot because, as we told before, it was an old dusty attic, so we made the whole set.
Yeah, we built it
on the own, out of nothing. She, came from work, and
I was like working morning and evening, and I was coming during the day to just build up the set. And we shot the week after, like on a really condensed
on 5 days. We slept 2 hours a night. But the thing is, it was really, really hard with Madison, Blackie, and Laura when they were talking to each other in the first part of the scene, because our storyboard had to be on point, because we had to. And the other thing that I don't know if anybody noticed, but Madison, Blackie, and Laura, none of them has the same height, which was something that I was we talked about it. We was like, well, it's not me. They're characters, so they're not the same size. And most of the time I was playing, for example, Madison on the headshots, putting the camera on a tripod, changing myself. So she was most of the time making food, because I didn't have any time to make food. I was changing makeup, make food, putting the starting makeup for the other character, shoot the other character, and we are this approximately the same height. So for Blackie, that was higher, we had the same high heels. That was 16 inches. No, I don't know. Centimeters. So, and I was always watching her in the eyes for the eyes to match. So on the shot where you see Blackie, Laura, and Madison, she was there on the side doing the other. And it was something really, because I started playing Madison, change, play Blackie for 10 minutes, changed again, my skin hated me anyway. And playing Laura, and after making every headshot for Laura, it was always like this. But yeah, we always had someone to watch. And the scene between Audrey and Laura at the beginning, it's the same. She was in front of me.
Well, let me for those of you who don't know or haven't seen the film yet, there are moments where it's not just, Charlie and then cut Charlie and then cut Charlie. There are sequences in this movie where both or three of your characters are on screen at the same time. That's when I knew, again, I point to the Laura Audrey scene as when this movie became great, because it stopped being a gimmick, right? And it became a real story, a real film. Because at that point you're saying, look, we're going to tell our story. It just happens to have the same actor.
Yeah. This is exactly it. It just happened. It's not, we didn't build anything on it. It's a particularity of the movie, not the main attraction.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's not like it's not like, okay, I'm going to play all these roles and it's just a showpiece. It's, like I said, it's a cinematic film. So you shot this exactly, I feel, you shot this exactly like you would have if you had cast actors in all the other roles. You just happened to play all the roles. Yes. And that's what I loved about it. Was like, you weren't using the fact that you're playing these as characters as an excuse for vanity. It was just part of the film.
And most of the time it was like, we had no one. There is a scene at the opening where, Laura and a friend walk in school, and you can see another character, which is Buffy, actually, for anyone that noticed, but no, which is my old Buffy, but it's another story. And the 6 characters are actually me, Coline, and the other actress. We cut because we didn't have anyone this day, and we were like, we need someone. We can have.
We needed students
students in the background, so and most of the time it was that. And with the extras, it's exactly the same. Most of the time we didn't have lots of people, so we were like, okay, put the camera on tripod, shot the first
half, and then move everyone the other half, and
changed everyone.
Yeah, double the numbers of extras.
Is it just the fact that know a lot of actors, or was it because, you know, I found this happens with my project as well, as, you know, I'll be talking to an actor, and the moment you say fan film, it's almost like, I don't know about this, because they know it can't go as far as a potential, like, you know, a film that's going to play at Sundance or Toronto or something like that. So did you approach actors and get like any pushback from that, or, you know, you just didn't know a lot of people?
It's many reasons. There were a lot of characters that I wrote because I wanted to do them as a challenge, and when I'm scared of something, I'm gonna do it. Like I did with Audrey, like I did with Mrs. Danford. I can't play an old person. Okay, I'm gonna do it. And Laura was the same. I was like, in any way I can play that. So I challenged myself, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. But there were characters like James where we tried to
find an actor,
yeah. But the rejection wasn't a fan film. It was just, which I completely understand. It was like we were
only two,
just
making a movie.
A movie being 21, and no one took us seriously, which I completely understand. It's completely understandable.
I wouldn't have trusted
myself
either. So.
And the actors that we had in the movie, we are so grateful. Mostly for the Eric Monte, which plays Leland Palmer, because he put up with a lot of things for us.
We're so thankful.
He played the rape scene. He played a lot of difficult things He was always a gentleman with it. He was always very respectful. He was never complaining, and we were very lucky because for Leland, there were no way I could play it. So yes, it was.
Well, I think one of the sorry, my nose is getting all stuffed up now. One of the issues is that these are all iconic characters.
Yes.
So it is hard to find somebody who can give you the same feeling, you know. But I thought the actors you chose, I thought they were really good, and it was surprising because every time another actor showed up, it was like, oh, there are other actors in this movie.
Yes, there is.
But I thought the people you chose were really good. I just find it funny that sometimes there is that stigma in there about fan films, yes, or about youth, and obviously from, you know, watching your film, I mean, I'm pretty sure the next time you guys decide to do a project, I think you'll probably get more people involved because all you have to do is show them this, say, oh, let me give you let me send you a link to our earlier film. They're not going to turn you down now, right?
Thank
you. Which is you know, it's a wonderful position to be in because you guys made an extraordinary film. Now I just have to ask you a couple more things. One is, you said you had a premiere for friends and everybody. Did you ever do a first screening for close friends before you started cutting things out to get a read on whether it was boring or not, or did you guys just look at the film yourselves and make those decisions yourself?
We had two friends that we wanted to show the movie, but were unavailable, so we didn't. And we were at some point where we wanted to trust ourselves as creator, and maybe it's a terrible move, but we were like, I think because we are the worst critics about ourselves, we are really hard on ourselves, and I hope we are, but and I think you have to be, you can be, okay, it's good. No, we were like, okay, no, that's terrible, and okay, that works, I hope. But and no, the first time was just between ourselves, and like I said, we finished it and we didn't expect what we expected a little, because, you know, I edited and she color corrected. She color corrected.
We just changed a little things after our first screening,
but we saw only parts of the movie, like Audrey and Laura and Audrey, and we never saw the movie in a whole, as a whole. And
during the process of editing,
and I remember there were a friend that has a big screen, which was used for the premiere. And we were asking him, well, can we watch ourselves the movie before so we can, check the sound and imagery, everything? and he stayed with us for when we watched the film between the two of us, and we were terrified.
Yeah.
And at the end of he's a professional. He works in the industry in France a little, and on festival.
But just his thing is more on music.
On music, yes. Yeah. And at the end, he was like, because he saw the process of everything before Buffy, True Blood, and everything that was terrible, and he came to us and he was like, "Okay, I was not expecting this, and it's good." And we were also very concerned about the sound. And as a sound editor, he's also a sound editor. Maybe. Yeah, a little. And he was like, "Okay, this is good." So it was our first. Well, I think we did something good, so, but no, we did not. And the first time the premiere was between friend and family, of course. It was also something. Well, if it's terrible, we're never going to show it to anyone. But the feedback we had was we never expected.
Yeah,
anything.
It was like the most emotional night of my life.
Of our life, yes. Yeah. I kept crying all night because people told stuff that it was a beautiful night. It was special. Yeah.
So
the screen worked.
Yeah. So did you guys wait until you were done filming to start editing, or were you editing while you were shooting?
Editing while shooting, which helped us a lot, because when we had a scene, and as I said, for the Harold scene with all the diary, I edited it and it was like, no, it doesn't work. And when I had the fireworks scene with the bikers and stuff, we were pretty happy with it, and it was like, it works. It really can add something to the movie. And every time we had a scene, we edited it and tried to connect it with the other to tell our story, because we never had any kind of project that was finished.
No.
It's the first finished project we had. My shots of Buffy are still never used
on a hard drive.
On a hard drive, yes.
In a drawer
that we will dig in 10 years. But no, it was a process always.
So you edited a scene and then decided to go back and reshoot a scene during the process as well, or no?
There were scenes, yes. The Amelia and I'm sorry, the other Donna and Laura in the flowering in the conservatory, I think. It was shot the first time. It was terrible. The dynamic between the two did not work at all. So we were like, okay, is it the editing? I tried different things, and I'm not professional at all, but it did not work. So we were like, okay, we're gonna shoot it again. I edited it, and it was like, okay, now it works. And every scene we shot and edited, we learned about ourselves, and we learned how to make the movie. So every scene with the monologues were shot mostly at the end, which is the greatest thing, because if we shot the monologues at the beginning, I don't think it would have been as interesting as you can see it now.
Well, what those monologues with those characters help with, you really feel like, you know, they've lived a life with Laura Palmer. She's gone now. They feel the weight on their shoulders.
Yeah.
So by filming those at the end, it meant that you had already gone through Laura Palmer. You'd already made this film. So the weight of the project, that character, is on those characters when you're doing the monologue. Whereas if you had done it at the beginning, you don't have any weight on you yet.
I think it would have been empty, kind of empty. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying that's why it feels so authentic, because you are playing like where you were, you know, in life at that moment.
Yeah.
Which is great. You can't deny anything, right? I mean, you have to, if something's happening to you in real life, you got to inject that somehow into the character, you know? And so that's what I'm saying. It's like you playing these characters that we know and love for 25 plus years. And yet for that hour, I never was sitting there thinking, God, I really miss Dana Ashbrook. I really miss James Marshall. I really miss Cheryl Lee. I really miss, I mean, because it's like you guys took a hold of the story, made it your own, and injected so much heart and soul into it that there was nothing else to do except just to give myself over to your story, over to your film, and just go along for the ride. And as somebody who's very serious about Twin Peaks, as somebody who is getting ready to make his own Twin Peaks fan film, I really hope you take that as the most sincere compliment I can give you.
Yeah, but because we discovered you this summer. I think it was
back in June. Yeah.
In June, yes. And
well, your trailer dropped. Let me just explain this. You dropped the first trailer, as far as I was aware of. It was the first like it was like a 30-second trailer.
Yeah,
and I was like, what is this? This is interesting. And so I made a little comment on your video, and then you contacted me shortly thereafter, and you said, we had no idea who you were or what this project was. So, all right, go ahead.
Because we didn't know about Obnoxious and Anonymous or any other Twin Peaks channel. We did not.
Actually, we just wanted to just finish our project and then just discover like the
Twin Peaks community. We never wanted to. I watched season 3 after the final project, because I never wanted to. This is something that when Twin Peaks season 3 was on air, we were terrified, because it was like, and if something happened and what we're doing does not exist, we were terrified. But
no, I know.
At some point,
I know the feeling.
After
I know the feeling. Yeah. You don't want
to. And
it's your own story, and yet at the same time, though, you don't want to retcon what they've done. You know what I mean? So
exactly. So we did not want it to not be a part of season 3, of course, but it was like, let's just be clear and clean and watch after. And for the Twin Peaks community that came along, we made a whole research after, and we discovered your Annie fan film and everything else. And I don't know what was my point, but yes.
Well, let me ask you this. You know, I saw your film. I loved your film. Obviously, I haven't made mine yet, but from what you've seen of my trailers and things like that, what do you, filmmaker to filmmaker, what do you think of what you've seen of mine so far, of what I want to do?
I really liked the whole scenery that took back. I think it took back a lot of what Twin Peaks was, and the color study also. And I thought it was, I don't know if it's going to be the way you're going to shoot the movie or anything, but it was there was some mystery in it, which I loved, which you didn't know everything that was going on, but there were information that was dropping, and it was interesting to follow the road of Annie and what she does. Actually, the first video I saw was the 9 minutes video you did.
Oh yeah, the big one. Yeah.
And then we followed Annie, and I think, which was the point, just discovering with her information and the whole process.
Yeah, and just developing Annie's character is like, wow, we didn't think of this. It's like super interesting. Like, what happened to her?
Who is she? Where did she go? I think it's a part of Twin Peaks that need to be explored. And when because we watched a little of your show about your fan film, and we were like, wow, I never thought of it actually, because it can be very interesting and add something to something that's missing. And because I think what we did in our film is not something that miss in the Twin Peaks. It's something that was there, which is did something else. But I think with Annie, you can really create something around the character, which can be very interesting and explore something completely but still be in the Twin Peaks universe and explore and extend maybe the universe.
Well, that's my intention. and also just to take us back to that world of Twin Peaks, which we all love. And you were able to do that in your film. You didn't shoot this in the Snoqualmie North Bend area, but you found locations that are very reminiscent, that give you the same evocative feeling of being there. So congrats on that aspect as well. So your film is dropping. We're shooting this in advance, but your film is dropping today, which is October 26th, right? Why choose that date?
Oh, we needed a month. So the movie was the final product was made on September.
Yeah, we finished it completely in September.
And this summer we're like, I think it will be finished this fall. So let's announce fall. And in September it was, well, the movie can be out in one month. So at first it was like the 12th of October. It was always a Friday because I think people can watch it on the weekends. It's better for everyone. And 26 was just, I think it came up. Actually, it's not intentional, but I've heard a long time ago, so I'm it's very confusing, but there's something about Twin Peaks that will drop at the end of the month. I don't know why, and I'm sorry, but there's either it's a book or there's something that will drop about Twin Peaks at the end of the month. And James from Twin Peaks Coffee Time said, well, it would be interesting to maybe release the movie at the end of the month. So it was like, well, yeah, why not? And it just came up. It's not specifically a particular reason.
It's just it's ready. So
it's ready.
Let's release it.
Let's release it. And but we wanted also to have the time to make a little communication about the movie.
Well, you know, October 31st was, you know, Halloween, but that's when they shot The Train Car and Fire Walk with Me. That's you know, that's also I'm trying to, I think it's Michael J. Anderson and Frank Silva's birthdays. The same day. And also it's the day The Secret History of Twin Peaks came out. And so I thought you guys were going to drop it like on that day, but 26 is good too. I mean, I'm just saying that like there's a lot of activity around Twin Peaks, usually October 31st. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because people will be a little aware more of Twin Peaks at this time of year. So we were like, well, we can help viewers if you watch the film. So yeah, it was the right time, I think.
Right. Okay, so I want to thank you very much for coming on here and talking with me, and hopefully you guys will be welcome. You're more than welcome to come on and talk with me again. So okay, let people know where they can find you online and where they can find this project.
Well, the movie will be released on our YouTube channel, Laura Palmer Twin Peaks Fan Film. And we also have an Instagram page, a Twitter page, and a Facebook page.
Everything
is in the description box of every one of our videos.
Of our video on YouTube. And our personal Instagram account, because we also do photograph. Photograph is me as a model, her as a photographer. On I am Charly Gautier, and you
and Coline Hurt, but everything is linked under every one of our videos. So you go on our YouTube channel, you can find every info.
But anyway, you will find our film because we are going to bombard every social media, so you'll find us.
All right, everybody. Well, make sure you check out this Laura Palmer Twin Peaks fan film. It's really, really great, and let them know in the comments, you know, what you think of their film. Give it a big thumbs up, and I really appreciate everybody tuning in and watching this interview. Thank you, everybody, for your love and support. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up as well. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. You know the deal. All right, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Take care.